All right. Welcome, everybody, to Finance Essentials with Danny Hudson. I'm your host, Danny Hudson. And if you guys haven't realized by now, I basically just do this show for my own pleasure and do all the interviews and topics that I want to talk about because today is another topic that I like talking about. I've got Scott from Kobra Trading here with me, and I really wanted to have Scott on the show, mainly because Scott talks about two things that are extremely important to me. One of those is financial freedom, right? As we talk about on the show all the time, right? It is your obligation to be as financially successful as you possibly can. And the second one is cryptocurrency, decentralized currencies. You guys know that I am all about that. I've been following Scott now for a little while. I'm a big fan. And so I reached out to Scott and I said, hey, would you like to come on the show and let me interview you? And, he ignored me for a while. Then he said no a bunch of times. And so he tried to block me on Twitter. And then I created a bunch of alts and he's like, fine. I'll do it if you just leave me alone. Well, Scott, how are you? Welcome aboard.
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. How have you been?
I've been doing well. I've been doing well. Trying to stay busy. And I know I've been again following you. I've been watching some of your videos lately. I believe you actually got your website launched. I guess it's about what, 2 months ago now, right?
It was actually more recently than that. I think I launched the website maybe only a month or so ago, a couple weeks,
Okay.
like 3 weeks or a month or so.
Okay.
So
Time
that's
flies when
been
you're
pretty
having fun.
recent. Yeah, that's been pretty recent. That entire thing was basically I was no longer able to do what I want to do in the Telegram that I had because it was just too many people, too much spam, too many scammers, impersonators. It comes with the territory
Sure.
of Twitter and stuff like that. So I still have the free one, not really active in there. Maybe post a couple charts every now and then.
Sure.
And then in the Telegram that I have that people can join from the website. That's basically like really close knit community, and that's where I now have all of my trades and stuff. That's all private to them for people that want to follow trades, learn from me. It's kind of like a group mentorship kind of deal.
Sure.
So
Absolutely.
that's what I transferred to, and there's a couple other things that I'm going to be launching hopefully before the end of the summer. I'm planning on coming out with a newsletter. I'm going to be building out the site and putting my blog on there so that I don't have to use Medium anymore and all of these third party kind of things. So I'm
Absolutely.
going to build that out for news, for blogs, obviously the Telegram group and all of that stuff. So that's all in the works, hopefully before the end of the summer.
That's beautiful. Well, I know there's a lot of people out there, and I'll just go ahead and start this off. I know we're only a couple of minutes in, but if you're listening, I'm really sorry. We're not. There's not going to be any financial advice. I didn't ask Scott to come on to shill any coins or anything like that. We'll talk about some price action a little bit and that kind of thing, but that's not really what I asked Scott on. So if you're tuning in to say, all right, well, what's Scott going to say is the next hot thing? You could probably go ahead and turn it off because you're probably not gonna get anything. But I've been following Scott for a little while, and watching some of his videos on YouTube and the like, and there's a ton of people that are in the crypto space. But the thing that really that I like a lot about Scott is several things. One, he's extremely honest. So the authenticity is there, which I think is relatively hard to come by in a pretty new environment. And so when you find those people in the crypto space that are honest, they're very straightforward. They're not out to just make a dollar. Those are the people that you really want to kind of to stay in contact with. But two is that he if whatever like there's no blowing smoke when if you watch his videos. I mean, Scott will literally say, if you do this, that's dumb. Don't do that. In my opinion, it's dumb. It's a bad decision. I would not recommend doing that. And so those are the types of recommendations and suggestions that I appreciate. And I know watching one of the videos, you talk about how You've been doing this for a while. You're a pretty young guy. And so how long have you been in the trading world?
So I got into initially, I started trading futures and stuff like that in legacy markets. Just started dabbling in that years ago, maybe 6, 7 years ago. And it was kind of like a part time thing, just like throwing around some extra cash and stuff like that. And before I really took the dive to dedicate a lot of time to cryptocurrency and or trading in general, I was actually a chef by trade for like 15 years, working in restaurants. I had literally worked in restaurants almost my entire that was basically my entire career, like ever since before I graduated high school, working in restaurants, serving tables, bartending, working, in and out of clubs and stuff. And then I started taking a liking to food because I didn't want to deal with people. So people in
That, you know
restaurants,
what? That kind
especially
of
like
makes
in
sense.
nicer
Some of the other
restaurants.
things that I'm thinking about.
Well, I mean, some of the people at some of these nicer restaurants, they have like this sense of entitlement where it's like they don't treat you as a server, they treat you as more of like a servant. So
Hmm.
I didn't really like that too much. I didn't like dealing with the people, and I really liked cooking food. So that's when I started working in kitchens and stuff. And the last position I held, I was the executive sous chef over at Clyde's in Tyson's, where near where I live and stuff. They've since shut down that restaurant. I never got transferred, and then I was kind of working odd jobs for a little while as I was trying to like save money and build a portfolio and stuff like that. And the last place that I worked was actually in the front of house, but as a maitre d, and that was even worse than being a server,
Yeah, then your whole
because you're
job is
dealing.
dealing with people.
It was terrible. Like, oh well, why can't we get a table tonight? Well, because we're fully booked. So I mean, you can stand here and wait for 3 hours, or you can go next door to Cheesecake Factory because I don't really care. So that it was really bad. So eventually I just kind of phased out of that, and I was working with a couple other people that run some like paid groups and stuff like that. Some of the more popular ones that are still in the space, not the scammy ones that were, around 2, 3 years ago or whatever. All of those are pretty much
Hmm.
gone now. So I was working with them for a while, and it was just like low pay, getting paid pennies, doing lots of work. And I was doing what I loved. So I didn't really care about the lack of compensation. But at the same time, it was like, like I need to start doing my own thing and start, building income and start really trading. So uh, it got to the point where it was kind of a really rough decision because I kind of took the leap a little sooner than I would have liked to, because I really didn't have the money per se to be doing that. So if it wasn't really with the support of my wife and stuff, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now. She really gave me like a swift kick in the ass and was like, okay, look, like stop working for all these other people. If you would have put as much effort in all of this freelance stuff that you do and trading and all of that, if you would have put that much effort into your own stuff, you would already have your own platform and your own following. Like, why do you keep doing all of this for other people when you should be doing it for yourself? And I don't know what it was. I just needed to hear that.
Yeah.
And once I started doing that, everything really started changing. Again, I never really focus on the money aspect of it, because if you do what you love, the money will come.
Hmm.
Same thing with trading. If you practice at it and it's really what you want to do, and you learn from your mistakes and you take the notes, and don't make the same mistakes again, then you will be profitable. But there's a difference, I think, between being profitable and being consistent. And, we've seen that in this most recent bull market where, you've got people buying all these, dog tokens or whatever, turning $100 into 10 grand or $1 million seemingly overnight. But then they give all of that right back to the market. Because they don't know really what they're doing, and they got lucky and they're on this euphoric high of, oh my God, look at how much money I made. This is
Right.
great. And
Yeah,
then
I'm a genius. In a bull
one
market, everyone's a genius.
exactly. Oh, I just keep smashing the green button. And that's what really separates, that's what really defines like, okay, who's going to be in this and who's going to turn themselves into a real trader, and who was in it for the quick buck that doesn't really care about, trading markets or whatever. They just want to make a quick buck and leave. And I think that's what we're seeing now, especially if we continue downwards with the price action. That's honestly what I'm really waiting for. I would love the market to just totally tank another $10,000, $15,000 and just really wipe out all of these retail traders that, they're just constantly yapping in your ear,
About
giving
how
you
great they
crap
are.
on Twitter. Oh, that's a bearish post. We don't like those.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many of the larger accounts, and even during this bull market, a lot of smaller accounts that were just tweeting bullish stuff nonstop, just like clout farming, just to get the followers. And that's not the path that I took. And obviously, I didn't gain nowhere near as many followers as a lot of these other guys have. Even people like Crypto Tony and Dave. I mean, I've seen them climb up in followers 3 times or 10 times as fast as I did, or even surpass me.
Right.
Some of these guys went from 1,000 to 100,000 followers. I've been around on Twitter since 2017. I have under 15,000 followers, and that
Yeah.
doesn't bother me in the least, because the kind of content that I've always tried to offer is educational. And that most people don't want to learn, because if they did, it would be directly correlated to the amount of people that follow you, right?
Yep.
So I like to keep it like a more close-knit community, and I try to educate people as much as I can, because when other people make money from what I've taught them and they can become, financially free or better off, than they were, that's what that's what I feed off of. Like, I like that.
Yeah.
I want to see other people become successful and, learn how to make money and pull money out of the market and not give any back.
Right.
And, that's one of the most important things. So I think, building on the skills that people have already learned and stuff like that, I think that it's really important. But, at the end of the day, in terms of being a trader, there's a difference between trading and investing. They're two very different things. And there's nothing that says that if you're a trader that you can't also be an investor, or if you're a swing trader that you can't also be a day trader. Now with legacy markets, obviously it's different. There's no fractional trading.
Mm-hmm.
At least here in the US, there's a lot of rules surrounding that. If you're a pattern day trader, you have to have 25K minimum in the account. Otherwise there's limits and stuff on that. But I mean, for the most part, trading cryptocurrencies, it's so much easier, and it's so much more available to everyone than it was 3-4 years ago. That it's really affording a lot of people an opportunity that otherwise would not have been there for them.
Yeah.
So trying to lead people along, the right path to do it the right way is kind of, that's kind of my goal.
No, that's perfect. And I know and part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode is that I've had several people actually reach out, and they said, hey, Bitcoin's up here, so on and so forth. I think I've missed it, right? I don't know if now would be a good time to even get into the space. I wasn't involved in 2017 or whatever it might be. Can you give a little bit of thoughts and suggestions to people who think that maybe they've missed the boat, or maybe they're a little skeptical or a little hesitant because, to your point earlier with the dog, with dog tokens or whatever, they didn't get into Bitcoin when it was $1. And so now people are afraid, well, hey, now it's 35,000 or 40,000. I think I missed it. What, do you have any thoughts on that?
Well, if they would have come to me at 60 or 65,000 and said, hey, have I missed the boat? I absolutely would have told them yes, because even my parents, they were like, look, with everything that's going on with the economy and these stimulus bills, and they're going to start raising the taxes, and oh my God, his new fiscal policy and all of the shit, $6 trillion. Even they're coming, my dad came to me and was like, how do I start moving funds over from my 401ks and, some of these dead stocks that I have that have been just, I made tons of money off of them, but they're just going sideways for a year.
Yeah.
How do I get involved? Is it too late? The answer the answer to the question, is it too late? Is always no. No, it's not too late. Even if it was at 65,000, I wouldn't have told you to buy any spot. But at the end of the day, we're down from our highs. We're still down like 30-40%
Right.
from our highs. And no one has a crystal ball. I can't say, hey, in 2 weeks, the price is going to go down another $10,000. So wait until then. There's no way to tell that. But I think the most important thing for people that are trying to get into the space is you have to get off zero. And now that doesn't mean you have to buy a full Bitcoin. Don't go out spending your entire life savings to get one whole Bitcoin,
Right.
unless you have the money to do that. If you got 100 grand saved up, go for it. Get your first one and then put the rest of the money in a small portfolio, or buy another coin that has staking capabilities so that you can make passive income off that while you're learning to trade in small amounts. But especially for people that are trying to emerge into the space as a trader, rather than just an investor, or somebody that's going to load up and just keep buying Bitcoin automatically every week and sending it to a hardware wallet. If you want to be trading on a regular basis, I think the most important thing is you have to first discover what the amount of free time is that you have to dedicate to it. And you have to find some kind of strategy and a risk management strategy that suits your portfolio size. And you can't make your first trades if you've never done this before. You can never make your first trades live. Like, you have to paper trade it first.
Yeah.
I did that for a very long time. Not necessarily in crypto, but when I first started getting into FX, like foreign exchange,
Yep.
that's exactly what I did. I paper traded it for a good 3 or 4 months before I actually even placed my first live trade. And I think my first Forex portfolio that I ever had was like $500. So that went on for a while.
Right.
I made a little bit of money.
And do you have any
and
specific, because my wife was actually looking at doing something similar, she was just like $150. And so I told her, I was
Yeah.
like, well, it's a good idea to go ahead and look into paper trading. And then you can at least see
Yeah.
how the market moves and so on and so forth. But to your point, if you're looking at the legacy markets, and, there's Thinkorswim, or there's multiple websites that you can use to paper trade it, it seems like in the crypto space, at least from what we were looking at, there wasn't really a very good site to use. And so if that was a suggestion, do you have any specific sites that you would recommend to kind of keep an eye on or to use?
Yeah. So, honestly, I always recommend TradingView.
Okay.
Honestly,
That's what I
you
recommended
can
to
make
her.
an
Yeah.
account on there for you can make an account on there for free. Literally any pairing on there, even if it's like an indice or whatever, like if it's traded on like the futures or whatever, like on the CME, you can paper trade all of that stuff. And that's always what I recommend people to do, because you can sign up for a free account on TradingView. Paper trading is also free. So if you're that much of a beginner to the point where you're still learning candlestick patterns,
Mhm.
how support and resistance works, volume, price action, the basics, forget the indicators. Like, that's a whole nother ball game. And that's, another thing that every trader will go through, going indicator crazy, looking for the one golden indicator that'll be
Right.
perfect. It's
Right.
100% win. It doesn't exist. I'll tell you that right now. If you're getting
Yeah.
into trading, it doesn't exist.
Right. Everyone
Okay.
needs the
It's like
confirmation
looking for the
bias.
holy grail.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's looking for the holy grail, and it doesn't, I'm not saying the holy grail doesn't exist, who knows, but in terms of like the holy grail of trading indicators, it
Mhm.
doesn't exist. Okay. Everybody has different portfolio sizes. Everybody has different levels of risk that they're willing to accept. And everybody has a different trading style. Some people are okay with, having some drawdown for a few days before, their trade is in the green, and they let that trade run for like a couple months.
Right.
There's nothing wrong with that. Some people want to be in and out of a trade on the 5-minute chart. I think one of the most important tips that I could give to any newer traders is that when you're paper trading, you should never be trading on any chart that's below 15 minutes to an hour. no 1 minute charts, no 5 minute charts. It will literally drive you insane
Oh yeah.
looking at that thing, because it just seems like it goes on forever, and it will. And next thing you know, you'll be sitting at your screen for 16 hours, not moving, just staring at it. And it's a lot different when you're paper trading, because the money's fake. So
Hmm.
it's, it doesn't matter if you lose a trade.
Right.
And I think that's why, for a lot of newer traders, that's why it's really important to do that, so that you can kind of get a feel for what a loss feels like, but you're not really going to feel what that's like until you've actually lost your money.
Right.
So nine times out of 10, first trade that you place that's live, chances are you're going to lose it.
Yeah.
And that's
It kind of
fine, because
it
that's
kind of
part of the
reminds
learning
me of
experience. But
oh no, I was just gonna say it kind of reminds me of, I remember this is years ago whenever poker was really big. And I was doing a free buy-in tournament where the prize was like a $25 bar tab or whatever it was. And the first hand I went all in on. And I mean it was like a low pair. And they were like, why did you do that on your first hand? I go, I'd rather go to the bar and drink. I'm not invested in this at all. Like, I mean, even if it was a $5 or a $10 buy-in, because you're financially invested, you treat it differently. Now, obviously, in these circumstances, it's more important to actually do it because there's a goal in mind, right? Where you're learning the price action and that kind of thing. But you're right, the mentality when you're actually financially invested is different, than you are when you're
yeah.
not.
And especially with legacy markets, like for the people that watch or whatever, that they're trying to get more into like trading stocks or options or something like that instead of crypto, because crypto, it's really volatile, it's risky, and all of that stuff. The most important thing is that when you start depositing money into a brokerage account, I mean, there's a pretty high trade fees involved with that. Like, it's like, I know on Thinkorswim, it's like $7 in, $7 out. So if you're opening up a portfolio with a little $100 or whatever, you're going to lose it. I mean, that's not
Yeah.
even enough to cover the trade fees that
Right.
you're going to place.
Right.
And you better not be in and out of, more than 3 trades in a week, in a single day, because if you do that, they're going to ding you $25,000, and you're going to get a margin call like, hey, now you're a pattern day trader, you better put the money in your portfolio.
Right, right. Which, of
So
course, if you put
there's a
$100
lot
in,
of like,
you've got
yeah,
25 grand sitting around if you're in for $100, I'm sure.
if you got 25 grand laying around, opening up a legacy markets account is, with all of that, is probably not the right way to go. 25 grand, I think that's a great starting amount. But I wouldn't put all of that in a portfolio right away. Maybe like 5 grand, just to like dip
Sure.
your toes in a little bit, maybe play some futures trades on like, like the ES mini or something,
Right.
some indices stuff. But me myself, I haven't even traded options in so long, I've almost forgotten how to do it. And that's really what I want to start focusing on now. For the Telegram group that uh, I started that 2 weeks ago, and I funded a fresh account, like a beer money account, with $1,000 on FTX, and we've doubled that in 13 trading days. It would have been 14 trading days, but we had Memorial Day
Sure.
weekend, so there was one loss.
Right.
One just 0 day in there. But yeah, we doubled the account already in 13 days. So I want to get that. I want to get it 25, double it again. And then with that 2,500, I'm planning on taking that with the members and starting another, probably starting like a challenge Forex account or something, and start getting back into Forex. For the last couple of weeks, Forex has been dead. And the reason why is because the dollar is not moving.
Yeah.
It's just going sideways.
Right.
So, when you start looking at the charts, and, you look at the weekly chart, and it's like all doji candles, like
Right.
a
Right.
flat price action. It's not doing shit. It's
Yeah.
like, well, like Forex isn't going to do anything
Yeah.
either.
Your
But,
conversation for that one's 30 seconds long.
exactly.
Same as it
So,
was
it's
yesterday.
like once the dollar starts moving, all of the other Forex pairs and stuff, they start moving as well. So, that's kind of what I'm waiting for. There's really no rush on that. There's, in terms of trading and investing, everybody has this, it's like the sex appeal of trading. It's like, I'm going to turn $100 to $1,000,000 in a
Sure.
week.
Sure.
I'm not saying it's impossible, but doing that is literally like hitting the lottery. I mean, that's like
Right.
shorting the exact top of a move
Right.
or longing the perfect bottom. Like it just doesn't,
Right.
it doesn't happen. It's literally like winning the lottery. And that's what is so confusing
Yeah.
with, like crypto Twitter and stuff. You don't know who's a LARP. You don't know who's really trading with size or not. You don't know who's going into the browser and doing the inspect element and changing the numbers. You know
Hmm.
what I mean? Like it's really hard to tell. And it's a lot less hard to do that with an actual brokerage account. You can't, that's software. You can't change those numbers. It is what it is.
Right.
But even that, some people, they crop stuff out and they're not really making that money. That money's on a paper trade account. They
Yeah.
never really took those trades. And it's really, really difficult to tell now, with all of the technology that we have, like who's real, who's not, who's really trading
Sure.
these, who aren't, who's not. It's very, very difficult. And there's so much noise. And that's my goal with what I'm doing is like, the people that find my channel on YouTube or my page on Twitter or whatever social media, that's kind of my goal is to like cut through all that noise and just give it to everybody. No BS. This is what the deal is. This
Right.
is how to read this stuff. This is how to learn X, Y, and Z, and just kind of cut through that because, anybody that's just embarking on this journey, I mean, immediately, there's pages and pages and pages of, these guys standing in front of $1 million mansion with models and a Lambo. And what people don't realize is that that mansion is an Airbnb. The
Yeah.
models are
Yeah.
from a professional modeling agency
Right.
and the Lambo is rented
Right.
and it's all fake. And they're going to sell you this BS course that's thousands and thousands of dollars. And it's literally regurgitating information like, here's how to read an RSI.
Right.
And it's
Right.
like the most, it's literally the only reason why you would use that indicator is for divergence on a high time frame. And they're like, you can make $1 million a month with this one
With this
trading
one thing.
strategy.
Yeah. And
It
so
doesn't,
speaking.
that sex appeal draws people in. And that's how those people are LARPs. Those
Yeah.
people are fake. They're all fake. All the fake gurus or whatever. They're selling courses. They don't have to trade because people are paying them $7,000 for this nonsense course.
Right.
And that's another thing that I'm actually planning on doing is actually putting a course together. But there's no way I'm charging thousands of dollars for it
Yeah.
because, if you want the tips and you want to learn it on your own, the information is out there, but it's going to take you months of reading and research and practice,
Yeah.
Versus the knowledge that I have already using it and saying, okay, this is the right way to use this.
Yep.
And that's what a lot of these fake gurus teach. And honestly, I think I'm probably going to have a hard time marketing that because, they want the Lambos, they want the, the big women and the big, the big fake titties in the Lambo and the
Right.
sexy models and the private jet and all this
Yeah.
other stuff.
Well, hey,
That's
I
not,
want
that's
that
not,
too. I mean, I mean,
it's not trading life though. Everybody
well,
thinks that like that's what a trader is. And, they see all these guys in private jets and stuff. Man, I ain't in no private jet. I'm in a little office, like 12
yeah.
hours a day. I'm wearing a freaking fishing hat and a t-shirt. Like I'm not what
Yeah.
I'm not wasting my money on Rolexes and stuff. I mean, if you got it like that and you're going to spend money on some success, on some material stuff, yeah, sure, it's nice. It feels good
Yeah.
to pay yourself and reap the benefits of the work that you've put in. But anybody that thinks that they're going to put in $100 into a legit brokerage account, trade a couple options and become a millionaire in a week,
Yep.
it just doesn't. It's not a thing. That's just
And
not a
speaking
thing.
to as far as the noise goes, right? You referenced that kind of thing. Who have been, because I found out about you through Wendy O, Crypto Wendy,
Okay.
And so are there, who out there have you found that are good resources, right? They are good influences and folks to use because again, I found slowly here and there, a few out there, but because my guess is that as you got into the space, you probably end up being one of those people where you were like, oh, well, let me see what this guy has or what this guy has to offer, and then you're like, that was a bad move.
Yeah.
And so you
Yeah,
start to
there's a
try
lot
to,
of LARPs, even on Twitter. Yeah, there's tons of LARPs, there's tons of fakes out there. I think in terms of like big accounts, the most trustworthy people are that have big accounts that actually trade with size, like way bigger size than what I trade with, and they're no joke, and they're good traders. They learned it themselves. They came up from nothing, not maybe necessarily education,
yeah,
but certainly Trader Main really good, Loma really good, Kaleo amazing. Shardy B, I think she's actually a professional trader. I think she works for a hedge fund or something. Shardy B is really, really good. She's probably one of the top female traders in the space. All of them are people that I've always highly respected and highly looked up to. Altcoin Psycho is another one. There's definitely a lot of good people out there, but you do have to be careful with some of those larger accounts. Like the ones that I mentioned, they're good. They don't shill projects and then dump on their followers and then delete the tweets and stuff like some people that just happened with. But in general, those are probably the accounts that I would start with.
yeah,
Um, and just kind of go from there. I mean, some of them put calls out, publicly on Twitter or whatever, because they just don't care. It doesn't matter to them.
right,
It's not going to affect their, it's not going to affect their position.
right.
But those guys are like the real deal. Those are the crypto Twitter, like market makers. Like those guys are no joke.
That's great. And
They play with some serious size. I mean, when you've got a portfolio large enough that you can drop $100,000 on a spot position and still have, 400 plus $1,000 in your account to do whatever. Yeah, they're trading on a whole nother level. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. I can't even imagine having, a portfolio that size. I
yeah,
mean, that's just ridiculous, especially just in crypto. Having a multi six figure, account just on one crypto exchange, to me, like that, like blows my mind. I would never put more than like 10 grand
right.
on a crypto exchange. I'm serious.
Yeah,
I would never put more than 10 grand at any time on a crypto exchange. I mean, look at how many hacks and things that we've seen in the past. People put their trades out there, or they they post how much size that they're trading with. Someone hacks them,
yeah,
or the exchange gets hacked, or
right.
now they lose their funds, or no, thanks. I'm
Yeah,
not putting more than 5 figures on any exchange at any time. No, thank you. That's just me personally. I
yeah,
mean, everybody's free to do whatever they want, but
right.
in terms of trading with size like that, I mean, if I had an 8 figure portfolio, it's not on a crypto exchange. I'll tell you that. That's like in a brokerage account that's
It's
FDIC
buried in the
insured.
backyard in a big jar, right? You just keep it in fiat.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, or it's on one of these,
Yeah, absolutely. No, I hear
on
you.
a Trezor or something,
Right. And so
So
kind of going back to as far as getting started, because again, watching your videos, you get very in depth as far as the technical analysis, Ichimoku clouds and that kind of thing. I know you mentioned as far as paper trading goes, were there any specific resources or anything that you used when you did get started, in terms of learning about the trading, right? Because you're obviously not going to go into the RSIs and the Ichimoku clouds and that area probably right at the beginning. But kind of
mm-mm.
some good suggestions or things for people to look for when they are getting started that maybe teaches them channels or certain patterns to look for. Can you provide a little bit of insight on that?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you're first getting started, one of the best resources, especially that's like heavily crypto related, is probably Credible Crypto's tutorials and stuff. They're really, really good. Mine are good as well. He's got like a way larger library of that kind of stuff than I did, because he got started way before me in crypto.
Sure.
But that's definitely really helpful. And a lot of people knock like Investopedia,
Hmm.
but if you're just starting out, one of the most important things that you have to learn is the terminology.
Right.
You know, like, what do these terms mean? What are these abbreviations that he's saying? Like, when oh yeah, you know, it's coming up to an HTF. Like, what is HTF? What is mean reversion? What do these things mean? What's an inside? What's a bearish engulfing candle? All of that terminology is extremely important to learn first. Like, that's the first thing that you have to learn is the terminology. Investopedia does a really good job on that. I think they even have like little short videos and stuff like that explaining what it is and things like that. And stockcharts.com is also really, really good. Those are definitely probably the two like biggest resources that I would recommend, especially if you're first starting out, like learning candlestick patterns and stuff. I mean, if you've watched my videos and you're still confused, Investopedia is definitely the way to go in terms of like terminology and stuff. If I explained all of the terminology on top of what the videos were about, I mean, each video would be like an hour long. No one's going to sit through and watch it. It gets really boring. People turn it off. And there's really no way, even with, you know, a lot of experience editing videos and stuff like that and doing freelance work for motion graphic design and all of this stuff, there's not really a way to make that interesting. You know, I mean, you're talking about, you know, definitions of words. It's boring. There's no way, there's no way to make that a fun thing. It's like, okay, boys, sit down. Let's whip out the notebooks and write down some definitions.
Yeah.
You know,
and
it makes you feel like you're like in a college class. Yeah, it makes you feel like you're in a college class, and it's boring. Like, people don't want to do that. They just want to put in $100, make $1 million. And you know, again, like if you're really going to put in the work and you're really going to learn, then yeah, it's really going to pay off in the end. If you really put the time in and you're really going to dedicate yourself to it, then yeah, you're going to be successful. But, you know, dumping $100 into a Robinhood account and just going all in on an options, on an options trade that's not the way to go. You're going to blow that account up. You know, I mean, probably just in the trade fees alone, you'll be underwater.
Yeah.
So,
and did you find too that as you progressed, you know, did you find that there was a threshold that you hit where you no longer really kind of focused on those types of things and you really moved into more of the real in-depth TA that you go into your videos? Like, was it kind of one day where the light bulb just went off and you're like, oh, I got all this now. I understand it.
Oh, no, it's constantly a learning process. I mean, I'm still, even with the amount of time that I've been trading and stuff. I mean, there's some people that are new in the space that'll draw a trend line slightly different than me because they just brought up a completely naked chart and got a fresh perspective on it. And there's even stuff like that, you know, I will learn from them that I didn't see that it was there. It's constantly a learning process. There's always a new indicator to learn. There's always a new strategy. It's constantly, it's an ongoing learning process. There isn't like oh yeah, I got this now. I understand it all. There's no way for you to understand it all because there's so much out there. I think for me, what really like flipped the switch was in terms of TA and stuff. Like, I taught myself the basics and candlesticks and, you know, support and resistance and basic patterns. And once I blew up my first portfolio, I think that's when,
which, you know, I think everybody's story tends to start that way, right? Once I lost everything.
Well, I mean, it doesn't happen to everybody, but it happens to a lot of people. I think the only person that openly admits, and they're probably being honest about it, that never blew up a portfolio is Cold Blooded Shill. He's another pretty big name on Twitter and stuff. I honestly don't think that he's ever blown up an account. Or at least he says he hasn't. I know I definitely blew up my first account. It was also really small. It was like $500.
Right.
I wasn't sweating it, but you know, yeah, I definitely blew up my first account. And I think once that happened, that's when I took a step back and I went back to the drawing board, went back to the notebook, went back to the paper trading, so that I could figure out what the hell was I doing wrong? And figure out what I needed to fix so that the next time I open up another $500 portfolio, I'm not losing it. And then that's pretty much what it was for me. And that's really what sparked, you know, me starting to dive deeper into different indicators, starting to put together, like a real risk management strategy. I'm
Sure.
really big on risk management because that was the reason that I blew up my first portfolio. I didn't have
Right.
a risk management strategy. I was just like, okay, let's buy support and sell resistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's great. And it sounds all fine and dandy. It's another thing to do it when you don't have all the information on the chart and you're trading live price action. Anybody can go through and cherry pick examples in their tutorials and say, okay, this is how you do it. See, look, if you bought here, this would have been a great buy.
Right.
But when that was physically happening, how do you know that that's when you were supposed to be buying?
Yeah.
That's what makes things a lot more difficult is when you're trading it on a live chart. And that's why I really always try to impress upon people like the importance of really learning so many of these different aspects before you
Yeah.
really start opening up like a live portfolio and just start clicking buttons.
And well, and then what I'm trying to think too is how do you, because I know you've referenced it before and we talked about it a little bit. And it probably happened when you blew that portfolio up, but how did you get to the point where you were kind of able to eliminate your confirmation bias, right? Because I'm sure you'll see something and you go, oh, there's a head and shoulder pattern here. I definitely need to buy that. And then you look back after it didn't work out and you go, oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's not, the right move.
Well, so I'm really now what I do is I'm really big on confluence. Like there's a couple, like I will look for patterns, if there's a wedge or a head and shoulders and stuff like that. Yeah, I'll look for those. But at the end of the day, patterns and stuff like that in legacy markets, they're maybe 65-70% of the time they're pretty accurate. We all know that in the crypto markets, those are not accurate. They're like literally it's a coin toss. Like it's 50-50. So what I try to do is I try to look for confluence with my other forms of analysis. So I'll look for, okay, if there's a pattern here and this breaks down, where if I'm shorting this or something, where is this first resistance that we
Yeah.
might get a bounce on? Because chances are, if that's a support level, that's where I need to be taking my first set of profits,
Right.
and then locking in and moving a stop loss to break even, so I don't
Right.
draw down. And things like that. I'll look for just confluence with different indicators or moving averages and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's really like the best way to go. Looking for if you've got a set of indicators or a strategy that you use on a daily basis and it works, there's always a way that you can further improve the strategy by looking for confluence in other forms of analysis that you may use, whether
Right.
it's, like Ichimoku Cloud or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm a really big proponent of the Ichimoku Cloud because I love bidding that Kijin line
Yep.
or shorting it or shorting
Right.
it if it's getting tested from the other side.
Yep.
That has been extremely reliable. So
Yeah,
a
I
little
noticed you
alpha leak
reference it,
there.
especially too, even whenever you're adjusting and changing your views and your charts and everything like that, that you will tend to pull it up, no matter whatever the time frame is and that you're looking at, you'll use it. And so, well, one of the things too that I've noticed, as far as the markets go, there's a lot of people that, especially with Dogecoin, right, when it blew up, everyone is kind of looking for that next, oh, well, if you buy this for $100, right, in 5 years, it's going to turn into $1 million. My guess is, especially as you're running your Telegram group and that kind of thing, you're probably getting some people that are like, hey, I appreciate the sound analysis and the honesty and that kind of thing. But I want to turn this $1,000 into $1 million. And so how do you tend to kind of work with some of those people and say, hey, look, sure, that could have worked out, but for every coin, right? Because I remember being back in 2017, for every coin that you think is going to hit to the moon, there's going to be another 100 that are going to be zero. And so let's not focus on that. Let's focus on actually sound fundamentals and proper technical analysis and get there rather than trying to hope that we can get the moonshot.
Yeah. So for people like that, what I normally do, they're normally more in altcoin trading. I don't trade, and most people know this. I very rarely post charts of altcoins
Yeah.
because I don't trade them. altcoins I buy and I invest in. Like I've got a huge bag of Link that I've had for, since 2018 that's
Uh,
locked away.
yeah, I
Like
bought mine at 30
I don't
cents and
touch,
sold out at $4, and I thought I was a
yeah,
genius.
like I'm like my long-term bags is like Link. Unfortunately I do own Ripple. That's a shit bag.
Yeah.
Hate it. But like especially Link, yes, XRP, I have some of that. Yeah, there's a lot of coins that I have that I bought in 2018, 2019 when the markets were just a complete wash. The volume was really low. And during that entire time, what I was doing, I was going through and reading hundreds and hundreds of white papers.
Right.
And it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But those few gems that I decided, okay, like I'll throw 5 grand at this, I'll throw 10 grand at that, and just forget about them.
Yep.
That really worked out in the long run, and that's really nice. That's like a nice solid cushion. Most of that's probably going to pay for my daughter's college fund.
Yeah. No, that's
But
great.
I mean, that's what I'll do. So with some of those guys that are like that, and they're more into trading altcoins, basically most of those altcoins are paired with Bitcoin, especially on like derivatives exchanges and stuff like that. So I'll just keep them happy by getting into some altcoin trades, simple stuff like, okay, here's your support levels. Let's ladder buys here and leave it alone. Don't touch it. Just leave it there. Oh, well, I want to trade it on the 5-minute chart. It's like, well, that one's going to be on you.
Yeah.
I'm not doing.
Right.
I'm not doing.
I'm not going to broadcast
with,
this one out here to the world.
Yeah, I mean, especially with something like Dogecoin or any of these. I mean, it has an infinite supply. Why in the world, if you buy $100 of it today, would it be worth $1 million ever?
Right.
It won't. If anything, it's going to decrease in value or stay break even.
Yeah.
Unless you were trading it on a very small time frame where you bought 100, it went up 40%, and then you took your profits and you're out.
Yeah.
That's really the only way that you're going to make money off of those things. And that's not really what I like to do with those. But normally, what I'll do is if I'm, like scalping for the day and I'm not looking to, start positioning myself for a swing. Like right now, I'm not trying to position myself for a swing because on the higher time frames, we've really only been consolidating for like 20, 30 days.
Yeah.
That's not very long.
Right.
In the grand scheme of things, consolidating for a month after a 50% price cut is nothing. We could be going sideways until the end of the year.
Yeah.
So,
and do you find
I'm taking my time with it.
Those, coming from the legacy markets, because it's giving you some additional, I mean, I wouldn't say patience, but it's very different moving into an environment that is 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, global, where the volatility is something that you just don't see in other places. And so there's a lot of people that are very impatient. And so do you find then that doing Forex and coming from those legacy markets has given you some additional, again, maybe patience is the word, where you can sit there and you can say, hey, a 2-week consolidation is nothing, right? We need to be patient because here's where our opportunity is going to come into play.
Yeah. Especially coming from legacy markets, patience is definitely the right word. And I actually even touched on that with my Telegram members today. I was like, this entire week, we took a trade every single day. Yes. I think today, out of maybe 12 or 14 trades, I think maybe only 3 or 4 of them were losses, like small, just small stop outs, or we took a little bit of profit and then it came back to entry and knocked us out.
Sure.
Today is the first day that we never took profit. And yeah, I got knocked out of the trade. It was a stop out. We've had a solid 2 weeks of just green. Right. And I told him, I was like, we're on a winning streak. Eventually that winning streak's going to end.
Yeah.
And I have been making a point for all of the newer members that are coming in, putting trades out like, okay, let's hop into a position this morning. Let's hop into a position. Today, we're going to go short on this pop. Tomorrow, we're going to go long on this dip. But at the end of the day, that's kind of like forcing trades. And I really don't want to be doing that. So I told them today, I was like, look, from now on, we're going to be more patient. We're going to be like really planning out some of these positions now that you guys have like made a few bucks and, you know, you kicked off your portfolio a little bit. We're in the green, right?
Sure.
Now let's like scale it back and, you know, let's focus on the most important thing, which is wealth preservation. Like we
Right.
don't want to just be hopping into trades every day just because we want to trade.
Right.
That's not how this works. And I think honestly, at the end of the day, that's probably going to be the quickest way to grow your portfolio because in the long run, somebody that is patient but really consistent with their trades is always going to outperform some big trader with this impressive 400 or 4,000% PNL.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that is the kind of person that's more of a gambler.
Yeah.
They're abusing leverage. They don't really have a solid risk management strategy. There's no wealth preservation in mind. It's
Right.
just, where's the next opportunity? Where's the next 50, you know, 500% trade that I'm going to make?
Yeah.
And eventually those trades are not going to hit.
Yeah.
Like what we have now. I mean, this market has already washed out a lot of people. I'm actually surprised at the amount of people that are still here.
Yeah.
Because in
Well, maybe they're like
2017,
me, where
it
we
was not
survived.
like that.
You know, like I got in, I want to say probably 2016, 2017. And to your point earlier, I was up at 2 a.m., right? And I'm like, oh my God, you know, I'm up 4 a.m. looking at charts and, you know, and that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then I basically got wiped out because I thought, again, like we were talking about a bull market, I thought I was a genius and I was in like 90% alts, you know, and 75% of those all went to zero. But I had no idea what I was doing, you know, and it wasn't a lot of money. I mean, it was probably like, you know, $1,000 or, you know, whatever.
Oh, that's not.
Yeah, it wasn't anything, you know, but it, you know, and I just left it alone. I had some that I was holding, you know, that I was just like, well, I'll just hold these forever. And then, you know, as it kind of started coming back up, but, you know, if I would have been smarter about it, you know, then it would have been different. And just like when it dipped back from 60, I'm like, not worried about that. You know, I mean, you know,
and the crazy thing is that with the dip that we just saw, going from, I mean, and we didn't even finish the move, just going from 60 to 40 in 3-4 years ago, that would have taken Bitcoin to zero.
Yeah.
Like that was the entire thing. Like that's 20 grand. That would have taken it to zero. It would have been over. It would have been dead. Everything would have gone to zero. I mean, like thinking about that now, and it's like, oh yeah, we swung 50%, and it's like, meh. It's like, you know, not that big of a deal. And for a lot of these newer traders that are coming into the space now, they're seeing this and they're like, holy crap. I mean, like I'm so far underwater. What do I do?
Right.
Well, you know, I hate to say it, but, you know, a lot of those people that are selling at a loss, especially like, you know, altcoin bags, you know, like everybody that's going to be selling at a loss, especially if Bitcoin takes another really deep plunge and we start going under 30K again.
Yeah.
A lot of people are going to be capitulating. They're going to be selling at a loss, and I'm going to be waiting there with a massive bag of cash to buy all of their coins.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think that that's like one of the most important things for newer traders to realize is like, you need to conserve the capital. So like right now is not the time to be messing around with alts, because if you hold one of those things just a little bit too long and Bitcoin decides to take a dump, you're screwed. And now your capital is gone because you had it allocated with all of these different things that are way more susceptible to manipulation and way further downside than it would have been if you had like half your portfolio in cash, you know, and then like a quarter of it in Ethereum and a quarter of it in Bitcoin. You know, so it's, I think the biggest, most important thing is like once you open up a live portfolio is knowing how to allocate the money. You know, because if you're all in spot Bitcoin and you go to bed, and then Bitcoin goes down 20%, your whole portfolio goes down 20%. Well, that sucks ass. You know, like you want to limit that.
That'll
so,
teach
I mean, there obviously
no more sleeping is allowed.
Basically. And, you know, like that, and fine. There's a couple ways to be eliminating that problem. I mean, you know, like you could hedge yourself short and open a small short position. I don't even bother with that. I made a rule: no more open positions when I go to bed at all, unless that position is like either it's a swing and it's heavily in the green,
Yeah.
or I opened it during the day, it's already moved and my stop is at break even. That is the only time
Right.
that I leave a position open overnight. And I always have some kind of a stop loss.
Yep.
I also got burned, another little alpha leak here. If you're going to put a stop loss on your trade, never make it a limit order, ever. Oh my God. One swift $2,000 candle, it'll blow right
Yeah.
past
A
your limit
flash
order.
crash or
It
something like
won't
that.
fill. You're done. It's
Yeah.
over. It won't fill. And now you're going to wake up. Your stop loss didn't trigger. And now you're going to look at your portfolio and it's like 40% underwater.
Yeah.
And so I never use limit orders for stop losses anymore. Normally I mark it in and I'll limit out. That's normally what the game plan is for me. But, in terms of allocation and stuff like that, that's why I like trading from my office in Greenland when I trade on FTX.
Yeah.
And, well, the nice thing about that is that when you make profits, I mean, it's going into cash.
Right.
So all those profits that you've made on your portfolio is sitting in cash. It doesn't get affected by the price action.
Yeah.
So if the price does dip, whatever spot you're holding, doesn't really matter. It's
Right.
not like your entire portfolio.
Yeah.
So that being the case, it dips. Now you can use that spot, convert it into Bitcoin, and now you just dollar cost average.
Right.
And now it's going to help you out in the long run. So I think doing stuff like that is really, really important. Knowing how much of your portfolio should be in majors and how much of it should be in cash, and just kind of managing your money. Like money management obviously is a major part of this.
Yeah.
If you just buy a whole bunch of Bitcoin and you say, okay, these are all the alts I want to buy, boom, 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 boom,
Right.
and you get them all, you go to bed, price goes down 20%, you wake up, your portfolio is negative.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. And you can wake up to a negative portfolio. A lot of people think that that's nonsense, but I mean, it's math.
Right.
If something goes down 50%, it can go down another 50%.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to stop. It's basic percentages here. It's core math.
Yeah.
Stop teaching my kids racial theory and start teaching my kids core math in school.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and
Jesus Christ.
And one of the other points,
the amount of people that don't understand that on Twitter, that a bag can go down 60% and then go down another 60%. It's just
I've seen your engagement stuff, and I'm just like, well, maybe go take a break.
Jeez, man. I mean,
and one of the things too
blows my mind.
And one of the things that you brought up a couple of times, and that I love that you mentioned it, which was wealth preservation, because I see that crypto and Bitcoin, they tend to fall into several camps where there's people who are kind of Bitcoin purists, where they seem to just their goal is to just hold it forever. And then there's also a camp of people who their only goal is to increase their fiat stack. Right there, for those purposes. And then there's also tends to be the people where their goal is to kind of see Bitcoin be the future, as far as financial transactions and that kind of thing, or maybe crypto as a whole. How does the wealth preservation kind of go into what your long-term strategy is in the crypto space?
Well, the first thing I'll say is that anybody that is trading that says that they're in it for the tech is full of shit. Okay, that's the first thing. They're completely full of it. Even the people that are developing the tech, they're in it for them. I mean, come on, let's get serious.
I know you brought up college education and stuff like that, which all makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's all a bunch of BS. And I think at the crypto conference in Miami, I'm kicking myself that I didn't go. I should have gone to that. But there was even a couple speakers and stuff that touched on that, and they were like, if you're here and you're even one of the people that are coming up with these projects, and you say that you're in it for the tech, I still think you're full of shit. and that is really true. So, for the people that are like, okay, Bitcoin is going to be the future. Well, Bitcoin right now is the present. Like, we don't know what is going to be the future. But here's the deal with the future of cryptocurrency. We don't know what that's going to look like, because there's Bitcoin, which is digital gold, and then there's Ethereum, which is enabling the entire rest of the entire crypto ecosystem. Okay,
Right.
so all of these people that are, oh, Bitcoin, it's, you know, like Michael Saylor, like takes a line of Coke. He's like, there is no
Right.
second best.
Right. Buy all of it. Buy all of it.
It's ridiculous to think that way. The reason why he thinks that way is because, like, he's screwing around with hundreds of millions of dollars.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people
money
blowing up his phone.
So, you know, he has to be all about it. But at the end of the day, we don't really know what that future looks like right now, because for Ethereum, I mean, it's like Ethereum 2.0 is basically like a meme at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't touch Ethereum unless I'm trading it, because it is so expensive to hold it.
Right.
It's more expensive to hold Ethereum than it is to hold cash.
Yeah.
With the interest rates and the inflation, it's more expensive to hold Ethereum. Why does that make sense? But the use case for it in the ecosystem is so high that that's what makes it really important. Now, we don't know, you know, Bitcoin is always going to be the gold of the internet, right? That's going to be the standard. There's only 21 million of them. It's always going to increase in value. It's always going to have another halving. It's always going to be mined. You know, there's no way to stop it. I laugh at people when they say, oh, the government's going to tax it. That's like taxing math. Okay. Like what are you talking about?
Don't give them any ideas, Scott. No, don't give them any ideas.
You know, I mean, I bought all my cryptocurrency on KYC on one of these registered brokers in the US. Well, what did you do with it? Well, I transferred it to a hardware wallet. I lost my password.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like, good luck with that.
Yeah,
you know,
it's
like,
a modern day boating accident. I lost it in a boating
exactly.
accident.
I mean, yeah, I got it. I went down to Miami for Bitcoin 2021. I got on a yacht. I lost it. I don't know what happened. You know, you're going to see that like crazy. But, you know, for people to be Bitcoin maximalists and just be only all about Bitcoin, they've never invested anything else. They've never even took a dive and read another white paper. I mean, I think that is just ignorance at its finest. I mean, that's so ridiculous, especially if you're a trader. It doesn't matter if it's one of these dog coins. If it went up 11%, you're looking for an opportunity to trade that and make some money off of it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, in terms of the tech, I don't think that, you know, we really don't know what the next like big thing is going to be. But that's why, you know, once the markets start washing all of these people out, you know, that's really important. And one of my biggest things that I've always been on about with this is that, you know, some of these companies, like back in 2017, the ICO craze, right? Well, the SEC, they didn't like the term initial coin offering. So what did we do? The bear market washed everybody out. And then when new companies were popping up in, you know, 2020, when, you know, after the coronavirus dip and things started stabilizing, well, we just renamed it. We packaged it up. We changed the name and we said, okay, now they're called IDEOs. Whatever.
Yeah.
You know, satisfies them, right? Well, a lot of these new companies and a lot of these, you know, new tech things that are coming out, these platforms for NFTs, these platforms for decentralized finance, these protocols that are acting as bridges so that they can all talk to each other. Right now, the space is heavily colluded with all these things. It's so diluted with so many of these different projects. You don't know which one's going to go to the moon. You don't know which one's going to fail. I ignore all that noise. And when the markets start washing everybody out, like what we just did, I just start taking my time on my free time and just start reading white papers, reading white papers. And the ones that are good and the ones that are stable are the ones that you're probably going to want to start with a small amount to invest in, put it away. And then if the market continues to go down, that's when I keep an eye on what are the devs doing? Are the devs still there? Are they on GitHub? Did they abandon the project because their coin is at so low that now the team can't fund the development of it? Right. What's happening with it? If the devs start looking like they're going to abandon the project and there's no updates and commits on their GitHub, I dump that. Whether it's at a small loss or not, I get rid of it because chances are it's going to get delisted or it's going to go to zero or both.
Yep.
And what my point is that by doing this and kind of diversifying the things that you're researching and putting your money into, you might be putting your money into the next Google, the
Yeah.
next Amazon, the next IBM, Microsoft, Apple, Netflix, Facebook. Okay. They're starting to make these platforms, social media platforms that are decentralized and they're based
Right.
on the blockchain. I mean, this is all fantastic stuff, but we don't know, there's like 50 of each of these things. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
hard to sift through all of them and it takes a lot of time. And that's actually going to be the goal of the newsletter that I'm going to be putting out once a month. I'm going to have a coin or a project that I am personally vetting, doing the research on, looking into the development team, seeing what their roadmap is. Where are they at now? How far have they come? What kind of money did they raise? Are the
Sure.
people legit, or are they, Google image people from Getty Images or
Right.
whatever
Right.
for the team
No,
section
at
on
this
their
point, they're
website?
AI generated. They don't have to do that. They'll just,
Yeah,
yeah.
like finding out all of those basic things first
Hmm.
is, that's the step that no one takes when they first start buying these things. Like when we were at peak euphoria, when everything was going 100, 200, 300% in a week,
Yeah.
it didn't matter what it was. It didn't matter if the market cap was only $1 million. People were buying it.
Right.
Well, one person with $1 million can just hit the sell button and wipe out the order book. You're screwed. And it
Yeah.
went to zero.
Right. Right. Right.
And that's already happened with a lot of projects. As soon as the market started turning around, a lot of the projects, they've already rug pulled. And there's already shady stuff going on. And that's why I think that, maybe it's possible that this could be the beginning of a bear market, because there's still way too many of these things around.
Yeah.
For me personally, way too many of these shady projects survived that 50% drop.
Yeah.
And for me, that makes me feel uneasy, because it makes me feel like maybe this price action isn't over yet.
Right.
I mean, breaking structure, breaking market structure on a really high time frame like the daily, weekly chart or whatever, and the monthly chart looks god awful. When you break structure like that, normally you're not just going to bounce right back.
Yeah.
That normally doesn't
Absolutely.
happen.
Yeah. Well, I know you
Which
mentioned.
is why now I'm really strongly considering that we could very well be just moving sideways for till the end of the summer.
Right. Well,
I mean, for
let
me,
everybody take a
I'm less
breather, right?
inclined to trade. Yeah, I'm less inclined to trade now because I want to go out. I want to have fun. I want to go to the beach. I want to go to Busch Gardens. I want to go do stuff. I want to pull profits out and, maybe buy a new car or something.
Right.
Like those are things that I want to do because it's the summertime. I'm in the mood to take profits and be outside and go do stuff.
Enjoy the sun.
I don't want to sit, I mean, with the platform I'm developing, obviously there's some things that I'm obligated to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's not like the winter time when it's cold out, it's dark, it's snowing. I don't want to be outside, or it's too cold to be outside. There's nothing for me to do.
Really cold.
Yeah, my office in Greenland is pretty brutal.
Well, I know you mentioned the newsletter. I know you mentioned the new platform. I love the conversation. Let's get the plugs in so that way people know. I mean, I'll link the website and your Twitter bio and everything like that in the show notes. But throw out anything else that you want the folks to know about.
I'll send you a couple other links of helpful free websites for like global order books and being able to detect iceberg orders. Just another, excuse me, another definition there. Iceberg orders are basically just the orders that are high dollar amounts that are not on the derivatives order books, basically. Like that's OTC. Those are OTC orders, right? Over the counter.
Right.
They're making, big, 500,000, $1 million plus orders or whatever on spot. Those are called iceberg orders because they're on separate order books for over the counter.
Gotcha.
That's how, you got people like Michael Saylor that's like, hey, I'm going to buy another $500 million of Bitcoin. First of all, there's no way in hell that order is getting placed on the order book in one lump sum.
Yeah.
Because it would screw up the entire ecosystem.
Right.
So it's like, 25 mil, 25 mil, 20, you know what I mean? And they're laddered. And then he's got an average. He says, okay, this is the average price that I want. The OTC desk ladders them appropriately and splits all of them up. And then they get filled over time. There's a good website for all of those things. So I'll give you a link to that. I'll give
Okay.
you a link to
And
High Block
I'll link
Capital.
and I'll make sure I link your YouTube as well. I know the videos and stuff in there tend to be a little bit late,
Yeah.
but they're still great. Just to hear you kind of go through a lot of the technical analysis and stuff that you use. So
Yeah. And one of the series that's on there is going away and is going to
okay.
be private.
Okay.
The trading lessons series, if you've watched any of those are no longer going to be available at the end of the week. That's kind
Okay.
of like the series that I started that I put a lot of time and effort into recording those, editing those, and adding everything that's involved with those. So those are going to be private. That's going to
Okay.
be part of like the courses and stuff that I'm
Sure.
doing as I build that out over the next 6 months or whatever.
Perfect.
So those will no longer be there. But I've still put at least one video out every
Yeah,
single
no,
week.
they're great. No, I love it. I love it.
I try to do a live stream at least once a week, but
Yeah.
definitely, if anybody's interested, cobra-trading.com.
Yep.
Right now it's just a landing page, but probably by the time this video gets uploaded, like come Monday or whatever, that
Sure.
the site will be built out with my blog, the members area. People will be able to sign up, to stay updated and stuff and get on a mailing list for website updates and stuff like that I do. So
Perfect.
building all that stuff out slowly. And
I love it. I love it. It's great.
I'll
I
put a
love.
couple links to helpful trading stuff.
Okay.
Like I mentioned, the global order books and
Yep.
stuff like that. Really, really awesome stuff. It helps with order flow analysis, which is good. So
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love the conversation. I love hearing people talk about this kind of thing, mainly just because the energy and the honesty and the authenticity there always gets me going. So I appreciate it. We'll obviously stay in touch. And maybe once we get the
sure.
newsletter and stuff like that going on, we'll get a chance to touch base again.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Perfect.
Good
All
talking
right.
to you.
Thanks, buddy. Well, and enjoy the rest of your evening and get out there and get some sun.
Yeah, sounds good. You do the same.
All right, buddy. All right. Bye.